Hello from Asheville, and I'm Aisha Adams, and welcome to the Asheville View. So, how has it been going for you?
It's been good. Working, playing, working, playing. Work hard, play hard.
I've been working so much. The city of Asheville funded a trip for a couple people that were in business to go to Charlotte. So I went to the Black Enterprise Conference, and it was lit, of course. But I need a smoothie. So you all know that I have a Planet smoothie addiction, right? And so I was...
Didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
yeah, it's between Planet Smoothie and Smoothie King. So I have to have a smoothie every day. And so I was downtown, and I wanted to get a smoothie. And I put out my little GPS, and it was like a 7-minute walk. So after it had been like 17 minutes, I walked up to, because I got lost, I walked up to a police officer, and I said, "Excuse me, Mr. Officer, I am lost. Can you help me find the Smoothie King?" He never looked up from his phone. Like, he just kept playing on his Facebook. And there was another guy who was standing there, and he was like, I'll help you, because he realized that I was like, what is happening here? And so as we were walking, I said, "Do you realize that he works for me? Like, I pay so many taxes. I've been paying taxes my whole life, and my ancestors paid the greatest tax." And he didn't acknowledge me. And so I wanted to bring it to the Asheville View today to talk about how, I think the police are supposed to be about serving and protecting, but it seems like everybody's afraid of the police, and that's who we want to be protected from.
That's the thing. See, when you said, I pay this guy, we never really think about that. When you think police, I never think, oh, my tax dollars are paying this guy's salary. I never think about that. The only thing you think about is this guy has a uniform, he has a gun, he's really scary. What am I doing wrong? That's the first thing that comes into my mind is whenever, plus I grew up in Morocco, so we're always scared of the police, Like if there's just two people from different genders are holding hands, they're gonna question you, like, who's this person? How are you guys related? So automatically you're always just unnerved all the time thinking, my God, it's a cop. What am I doing? Am I driving too fast? Am I doing something I'm not supposed to do? So when you said, this guy's supposed to serve me and protect me, it's a thing that nobody really thinks
We pay
about.
good money for that.
Yeah,
Regardless, it's really stressful being a person of color and having to deal with the police.
Absolutely.
I had this experience. I was honestly on my iPod looking for a song, and I crashed into a pole. My fault, right? On Merriman, actually, which is right down the street. That way.
Was it near the same?
And why the hell, after a car accident, was I put into handcuffs in the back of a police car?
What?
Listen, one time my friend was gonna call the police, and my brother was like, "I'm gonna leave because the police never help." And that's what really started to make me think about that. And I have police officers in my family. And I love them, and I know that they want to serve and protect, and there are good police officers out there. All police officers aren't bad. So I wanted to bring it to the Asheville View today because I'm thinking, number one, we need to talk more about this, open up this dialogue, but two, it needs to be a culture shift, right? Like, you're here to serve and you're here to protect. So how do you think we as the citizens can change sort of how this is? Like, I know when I taught at Asheville High, sometimes they would block Facebook. Like, there were pages we couldn't even get on. So I can't imagine if you were supposed to be out serving and protecting, you're on Facebook.
My thing is that you don't need a college degree to do a lot of things. And that's cool. That works for a lot of people. And there's so many entrepreneurs now. My thing is, you don't need a college degree to be a police officer. And I think that a higher education in diversity and different cultures and humanities of all cultures, and just knowing about who you're protecting is so important. Because, and not to be rude, but like, if someone who has a low IQ leaves high school and decides to be a police officer, they just have to go to the police academy and learn how to police. They don't have the education. And
And the
even people with
exposure, I
higher
think.
IQs who have issues with people of other races and issues with this, that,
And
immigrants.
college is where you kind of work that out, right?
And that's-
Because you
yeah.
meet people, you fall in love
You
with
meet
them,
all
and then you
sorts
learn.
Exposed to
of
different
people.
cultures. You're exposed
Yeah.
to
And
different
cultures.
colors.
And I think it's really important. They used to require a bachelor's degree, and I think because the force fell off so low because of the pay, that a lot of people dropped off
Yeah.
because they only make about $30,000 a year.
So they make low wages as well, so they're burnt out. Number one, so get them a raise now because I like to be served and protected, and I'm
Yes.
really big on that VIP because I like pay taxes and property taxes and taxes and taxes and taxes. And then the other piece of that is, I know for me and the police officers that I know and love, I want them to make it home safely, and it's not safe out there, and we have to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
So I have a little thing that I do whenever I'm approached by the police to de-escalate the situation before it happens. I just start crying. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, oh my God, officer, I'm so sorry. What
Yes.
did I do? Are you gonna have to put me in jail? I've never done anything wrong. I'm Muslim, my dad's a preacher. That's my strategy, because if they know that I am
That
humble
you're not
and
threatening.
scared, it works. And so
Yeah.
I've had police officers who should have given me a ticket apologize to me because I am going to cry. I'm going to be like, Mr. Officer, I'm so sorry. You had to stop what you were doing to do anything. I'm so wrong. But I shouldn't have to feel that way.
Yes, absolutely.
When I'm riding down the street and I see a police officer gets behind me and my heart starts beating fast, my blood pressure is elevated, I'm thinking, what music do I have on? It's so much, and it shouldn't be that way. What do you do to...
I personally use the foreign card all the time. It always works. Teacher
don't
card,
know.
foreign
I don't know.
I always say, well, in Morocco, I didn't used to drive, so this is the first, I didn't have to. So the first time I got a driver's license here, I was 23. So it took a while, and I always say, oh, I didn't know what that meant, especially. And sometimes I'm even tempted to say I don't understand English, just to kind of get off the hook, you know? I'm like, oh my God, just like the crying thing. But that's a really good point that you brought up about being exposed to different cultures and different colors of people and people from all over, because one time I got pulled over and I was in Maggie Valley, and I was asked by this cop to show him all my identification and everything, and it was a speeding thing. It wasn't anything major, but he asked me, and back then I didn't
She
know
was
my
only
rights.
going 180 miles an hour.
I mean, if you've driven through the main strip in Maggie Valley, it's 35, and I used to live up there, so how many times can you go up and down 35? I mean, it's kind of too much when there's nobody around. Don't do that. It's not good, because I still got pulled over, and it wasn't like just license registration. It was more like, where are you from? And I say, I live up the street, but where are you really from? And back then I was so young and naive, and I didn't know my rights. I didn't know what was expected of me at a stop like that, getting pulled over. So it went from that to give me your green card, basically. I had to show my green card. I even had to step out of the car and let him look through. And I had no idea that he was completely wrong for doing this. Me, I was just mortified. I was thinking, oh my God, do I have my green card on me? Oh my God, do I have everything? Am I gonna get arrested? That was such a scary experience. And when I went home, Eddie just said, are you kidding me? He has no right to do any of this. This was a traffic violation. You were speeding. This has nothing to do with where you come from or your green card or to look through your car. So, I mean, back then, and I didn't know, so that's why people really should educate themselves and their kids of what's to be expected and what are your rights and what is right and what is wrong.
Well, with the whole neo-Nazi movement too, it's extra stressful. And a lot of people, it came to light a couple years ago, but when I was down in Tampa, it was like a thing. Like it was rising, and so you get pulled over, and I don't know why 50% of cops shave their eyebrows and head, apparently, or just don't have eyebrows. But like, it's a thing.
Is it 50%? Is it?
No,
Did
I'm
you check your
joking. No, I
percentage?
made that up. But like, it's just like you don't know who you're getting pulled over
Yeah,
by.
you
I
don't.
mean, we've all seen IDTV. We all know you don't know who anybody is until they show
Yeah.
their true colors. And that's scary enough, and then being a person of color and getting pulled over, you don't know
Absolutely.
what to expect.
You don't.
Was it speeding when all these people died?
Yeah.
So I think you have a really good point, right? If you're a person of color, though, at least now people are watching out for you.
Yeah.
But the police are just mean to everybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter your race, your gender, your color.
You're always scared.
Like,
Yeah.
we're just scared. Like, they kind of run things right now.
Yeah.
And I feel like what we need to do is, number one, we have to start being more kinder to our police officers.
Touche.
Because they
Touche.
are our
Yeah.
public servants, and the way that you treat your servants are a reflection of you. So I'm not here to like cause a scene for the police officers.
Not all police are bad.
Not all of them are bad. Some of them are very good. And so what we have to do is
Respect.
Start with us respecting that. But the second piece that you brought up, Miriam, you were like, I didn't have to show my green card. But most American citizens get no information about policing. So we take, even in civics class, they don't tell us like,
No.
these are your rights. We don't learn our rights. The only time we hear our rights are right when
When we're in
you're about to get
trouble.
arrested.
they're like, oh, read them their rights. And
Yes,
like,
yes, yes.
They don't have
Yes.
to tell you your rights. They have to read them to you,
Yeah.
which tells you, for me as an English teacher, that is very much a lot of depth. They have their little card and they give you the Miranda rights. But why aren't we getting those in the mail? Like,
Yeah.
why don't we have our own copy that comes with our birth certificate and our social security card?
So why, my parents have always raised me correctly. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Especially the police officers. As a person of color, you respect. Why do we still end up getting so deep into, or deeper into things for being respectful? It's almost like honesty is poison to the, or not poison to us, but it's fuel for the police.
It is. And I know they want to make it safer for us. Like, we have to keep that in mind. We have to keep that in the forefront of our conversation.
And I'm sure we've all had experiences where they were really good to us.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes,
I've
yes,
had that
yes.
too.
This
Plenty
is not
of
like
time.
a dig down the
Plenty
police.
of times
not
where
at
you
all.
see them and you feel safer. You're like, oh my
Yeah.
God, this could have escalated.
I
Thank God
had
there
a-
was a cop around.
I had a rough day, and then I had to get fingerprinted to do Camp Girl Boss with Emily, who was here. And when I went to get the fingerprint, the cop was so nice. I was like, if all cops could be like you, this world would be a better place. He was happy. He loved his job. He loved what he did. And so we have to, number one, make it better for them, because
Absolutely.
you know, when someone's mad at work, it's really probably on the people who are above, right?
People don't quit companies, they quit bosses.
Exactly. And you know,
Just
so
like
a lot of
teachers.
times when we're breaking the law, they probably assume that we know it. Like, we should know
Like, you
what
should
that
know
law
better.
is. So I got a ticket over here for backing into a parking spot, because it's illegal in parts of downtown Asheville to do so, apparently.
Really?
So I
No idea.
I'm like, this guy is tripping. So I
Right.
call the parking people, and I'm like, hey, so I got a ticket. So the girl starts laughing. So I get upset, because I'm like, you don't know how much money I make. You don't know my background. And so I come from being a single mom. And while I'm doing okay right now, and I haven't always done okay, and I've had to pinch my pennies together, and it makes me think about the moms who are up here trying to get things for their kids, and they're scrubbling around, and then they get a ticket.
Yeah.
I mean, and
tickets are like almost
for-
$300.
for
I
backing
don't
in.
think
Yeah.
people know that. I mean, I got a ticket downtown, and this was years ago, but I don't think people realize that $15 is a big deal to a
That's
lot
an
of people.
hour. That's an hour worth of work. And
It's
so
more than an hour
for
for,
some,
most
for some
places,
people,
and
yeah.
for some
yeah,
people.
and when I called, she was laughing. She said, I didn't know either. So I just got upset. I said, well, you and your boss need to do your job. You need to do what you need to do.
So where can people, everybody, get access to all this information so we don't keep getting in trouble? Like, what are the things that we're not supposed to do? Where's the city posting any of this
Yeah.
information that's available, that should be available to everyone?
Yeah.
So we don't keep getting
I
tickets.
think, unfortunately, a lot of it is online, but unfortunately, a lot of it is also posted on the things, and I really feel like people don't pay enough attention
Yeah.
with reading.
Yeah.
So my advice would be, like, read. If you can't read and you get a ticket,
Yeah.
not if you can't read, but like if you're not reading.
Yeah.
If you can't read, you need to call someone too.
Yeah.
Right,
That's a big
right.
deal, because obviously we need access for everybody to be able to understand without
Yeah.
getting
Or
tickets.
maybe as a part of your driving test,
Well,
you know, these
why don't you
questions
teach
need
it in
to be
school?
included. Yeah, exactly.
Teach it in school.
Driver's ed.
But we
You
have a
know,
special guest
like-
that's coming later, and she's going to help us figure some of this stuff
Yeah,
out.
that's-
So really
that's good.
super excited about that. You're watching the Asheville View, and we'll be right back.
Dr. Sharon Norling, and this is Ask Your Doctor. So many of my patients come into the office and they are so tired. They just talk about their fatigue and they're actually just exhausted. And the issue is they always say, well, I'm so busy and I got so much to do and I'm not sleeping well at night and I'm just stressed out. And yes, that's part of it. But maybe it's your thyroid. Many patients have said, well, I went to my doctor and my thyroid's fine. Maybe it's fine. But if you only had the TSH tested, it's not enough. You need a full panel, TSH, T4, and free T3. Because if you're cold, like your hands are more cold or your feet are more cold than the person in the other room, you have low thyroid. And we have got to stop treating labs and treating the patient. Also, and you can diagnose this yourself. You could diagnose this at the airport. So if the outer 1/3 of your eyebrows are missing, or you see someone whose outer 1/3 of their eyebrows are missing, they have low thyroid. They're not only just cold, but they'll have weight gain, they'll have constipation, they don't think real well, they have short-term memory loss, they feel depressed. So it's important to have your thyroid checked and to make sure it's within the normal range. The other part is your adrenal function could be too low. And how many of you, when you wake up in the morning, you're just exhausted? It doesn't make any difference whether or not you've slept 8 hours, 10 hours, or 12 hours. It's still slow moving for you in the morning. And then you might feel a little bit more energetic later, but in the afternoon, it's daytime sleepiness. And it's like someone turns the lights off. You have adrenal fatigue. These people are exhausted. But the interesting thing is with adrenal fatigue, you might get a second wind at night. And you say, oh, I'm such a night owl. Well, if you have difficulty getting up in the morning and you have more energy at night, you probably have adrenal fatigue. These patients are also inflamed and they might crave salt. So have your adrenal system checked by your physician. And functional medicine doctors and integrative medicine doctors look for different things within the thyroid, adrenal function, hormones, and neurotransmitters. Your hormones could be out of balance. And especially for men, if their testosterone is low, they just don't have the energy anymore. They have a lot of other symptoms as well. But remember, testosterone is a female hormone. It's produced by the ovaries when it's working and by the adrenal glands. So it's important to be tested for women, not only for the estrogen, but testosterone as well. And what about if your neurotransmitters are low? You're going to be so tired. For example, if your norepinephrine, which is the excitatory energy neurotransmitter, like epinephrine and glutamate, if those are all low, you're tired. Your libido is low. You can't really focus. And dopamine is a great neurotransmitter. Dopamine is the one that gives you joy and euphoria. It's the one that gives you bounce in your step and makes you have this overall really feeling good part of your body. So if that's low, you're going to be tired too. So the key for your optimal health is have your hormones tested, have your neurotransmitters tested, test for thyroid and test for adrenals. Because you know what? You deserve your best life. And this is Dr. Sharon Norling, Ask Your Doctor.
Asheville View, and today we're here to talk to Tiffany. And Tiffany is a good friend of ours, but she's also the chairperson for the Human Relations Council. So can you tell us, what is the Human Relations Council?
First of all, I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone, once again.
We're happy.
So the Human Relations Commission of Asheville is a new commission that was designed through Asheville City Council. And what we do is we make policy recommendations for the city from the community. So it's almost as if we're pulling community people to bring in community voice.
Right. And so a big part of your work is working with the police department. Is that correct?
Well, that is some parts of our work. Our scope varies. So I look at it as a multi-tiered commission. So we take in complaints from communities, so individuals that may be experiencing police brutality or individuals dealing with rental issues, racism, anything upon those gamuts. They bring it to the commission and we hear them out. But then also we work closely with CPAC, and that is the Community Police Academy. And so what that does is they're actually the individuals that will go and have that direct contact with law enforcement.
Oh, so if we have a problem, we come to you. So that makes a lot of sense to me. Yes. So earlier in the show, we were talking about how sometimes it feels as if we aren't the ones who are being served and protected, and that we're in fear. Not just people of color, but everybody. You know, you get that pitter patter in your heart when a cop is behind you. You're like, you know, you paid your insurance, you know you belong there, but you still feel that pitter patter. And my thing is, like, I pay my taxes, which means I pay your salary, and I don't want to be afraid. So what advice would you give to our audience in terms of if they do have a complaint, how do they reach out?
Great question. So the first thing we would encourage individuals is to just come to the Human Relations Commission. We meet every third Thursday, 5:30 here at City Hall Plaza in the conference room. That's number one. Number two, utilize the city's website. So asheville.gov has a website, and it gives you information where you can actually contact the Equity Department, which the Human Relations Commission is just a facet of Asheville's Equity and Inclusion Department.
Okay.
Right.
And I know you work with the In Real Life, which is such a great initiative. It's such an amazing program that works with the Asheville Middle School, and you guys help them after school to work on projects and homework and activities and learn things. I think it's brilliant. My question is, is there any facet of that business that helps young kids understand the dynamics and the relationship with police force and what to do? What's the etiquette if you get pulled over? How do we interact? What are the do's and don'ts, and what's to watch out for? And how do we make that relationship respectful and safe for both parties?
Wow, Miriam, what a loaded question. But first, Asheville City Schools Foundation is the actual motherboard of In Real Life. And In Real Life is an after-school program that serves all Asheville Middle School youth. And one way we're looking at how to connect the dots between law enforcement and youth is to just have some fun after school.
Okay.
So IRL really is similar to what they call PAL, which is Police Athletic League.
Okay.
And what that does is it pretty much just brings about building relationships. And in IRL, we have a program specifically called Asheville Police Bomb Squad. And so what that looks like is Asheville Fire Department, Asheville Police Department, and even emergency responders come and work with youth for 1 hour, and they teach them how to take out a burning building. They teach them how to sometimes even understand what the stunt gun means and looks like, but then also how to interact with law enforcement and not have it be a scary thing.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually fantastic. That was actually one of my questions. I ain't getting my case.
Sorry.
It's okay. My big question is, how do we educate the police about, they used to have a bachelor's degree to become a police officer. They cut that. And so now you can get out of high school and have a police certification. I'm not sure. But my thing is with all the experience we have in high school, we can be jaded. And without that college experience where you're opened up and you're around everyone and different cultures and different things like that, you don't get that experience. And so how can we educate police officers about diversity about different cultures, about different cultures' ethics. Because sometimes people blow up on the police officers, and it's not because they're mad at the police officers, because in some way in
Mental
their
health.
culture,
Or
Mental
they're
health.
rather than, well, let's talk about mental health too.
Yeah.
That's
For
a
both
big
parties.
thing. I saw a video about this boy getting beat up by police because he was autistic. He didn't know. So, and I don't like to call it mental health. I like to call it mental diversity.
That's
Because we all know people who are autistic that are brilliant at computers and science and
You
health.
would never know there's
The
anything wrong.
end. We all know people who are ADHD that get so much more done in a day than any normal person does. We have to stop medicating people like they've got a problem and start implying mental diversity.
What do you
I
think
think
about
that's-
that, Tiffany?
Wow, well, Kirby, you definitely have the bigger picture in mind, and I like your 30-foot view questions. I'm going to now take off my hat of IRL. I'm going to also take off my Chair of Human Relations Commission hat
And be
just
Tiffany.
Miss Tiffany.
Oh, we like.
So what I think when it comes to law enforcement, police, I always just go back to what Frederick Douglass said, as far as people perishing with a lack of knowledge. So even looking at law enforcement, it's not who you know or your lived experience, but it's how do you relate to people. How can you put yourself in that position to understand that this is a real person with real experiences that are specifically negative with me?
Right.
You know, so how can I approach this? But one thing that I've always thought is just that cultural sensitivity training and just allowing individuals, and when we bring it to Asheville specifically, maybe allowing individuals in your department to do the REI training, which is the Racial Equity Institute. Or even, you know, on a lighter note, building bridges. But these are just different things that help law enforcement understand that there's a culture shift that needs to happen.
I feel like when I lived in DC, they had an initiative, like we already talked about how our police force should be paid better. So they had an initiative where I honestly believe police should live where they work. So they know the people, they know the community. You know Lil Robert is a badass. You know that he's a badass. But you also know that he comes from a good home and that his grandparents are gonna look out for him, and you know that through this relationship you can teach him to be a good citizen. So that is what I like to see, more people policing, teaching, living where they work. We get so caught up into, I want to live in this neighborhood, I want to have this like the Joneses, and we forget that our work is what makes the planet better, what makes the community better.
And my thing is, we don't need more people policing. We need good people policing.
I would like to bring a little pushback on what you said, Aisha. I have quite a few family members in law enforcement, and one of the things that would have been a challenge for them is to tell little Ray Ray, nah, you good, go ahead. Because I grew up with you.
Yes, that's
We went
true.
to the same school, we was in kindergarten
That's
together.
true, that's
So
true.
sometimes it's hard to differentiate.
Yeah, but you
just
have to
that
have
piece.
ethics, right? Like if you're a police officer, you're supposed to be above little Ray Ray going to school with you and letting him slide. That's why you're a police officer, because you're better than me.
Yeah, but
We have
unfortunately,
to
what she
have
says is really
ethics.
valid.
We have
That
to have
really,
ethics.
really happens.
But what if you can't tell your story and feel safe telling your true story?
I think there's good and bad to that. There's a good side and there's a bad side, because one, it's really good that the kids in that community can really relate to that person and connect with them because they know them. They've seen them grow up, so they know that's a safe person to go to. At the same time, that person is always going to have that kind of compassion where sometimes they let him slide, sometimes they give him a different treatment than the other kids that they didn't really necessily connect with. So it's
I guess I'm
what
just
people
different
go
because I
home
see
to.
when they seen us, and I'm like, let some people slide. Like y'all get people all the time who don't slide, so let some people slide. Yeah, like tell Lil Ray Ray, like, hey, if I see you do that again, I'm gonna arrest you, because people make mistakes. We're human.
Right.
That's the human
Exactly.
condition.
And that's one thing I want to talk about is it's all of like my white friends and siblings.
Right.
They all got a first pass or multiple passes on their first speeding ticket.
Exactly.
I don't get
Yeah.
a ticket or a free pass on
Exactly.
anything. It's just ticket.
yeah, yep.
And it's like, I don't drive
how many
anymore.
tickets are those?
I don't drive anymore, by the way, because I'm not actually a driver.
Ticket. What was that?
We're not gonna bring that up, but My thing is that it was like I never got a free pass.
Yes.
But it's supposed to be law enforcement, not law lock up. And so you can enforce laws without necessarily locking people up. And you can say, hey, Lil Ray, I'm going to tell your real grandmother on you. She's going to whoop you. Everybody's going to know. You're going to be the shame of the community. And that is discipline.
Yeah.
Because until we
that's
teach
great.
people
That's scary,
to live
yeah.
in community and to be connected in community. There's certain things I don't do because I don't want Louise to look at me a certain way. There's certain things I do because I don't want Kirby to look at me a certain way. And I feel
Right.
responsible for my community because I have equity in my community.
Yes.
You know, in order to look at individuals and see where the negativity comes from, you also have to look at the head. So
Yeah.
the leaders.
Right.
And we can spend all day just looking at this government,
Police.
this system, and why things are the way they are. But when we look as though you're speaking of a solution, what are some solution-oriented actions that we can take?
Number one,
Yes.
living in
Call to
community, bachelor's degrees, calling our human relations committee.
Big brother, big
being
sister.
exposed to
being-
different people.
Be respectful because they will shoot you.
Are you
Yeah.
guys
Be
getting this? I hope
respectful
we're
because they
recording
will
this.
shoot you.
Right?
No
These
video
are great
begins
options.
with not like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. What do you need? I have it, or I don't have it. Just take me to jail.
Right.
Whatever you need, don't shoot me.
Make it home
That's how you do
alive.
it.
That's make it home alive. And also putting the onus on, because again, I pay my taxes and I don't miss a beat on that. Like putting the onus on the police to say, hey, this is the person who pays my salary. Everybody works for me. The mayor works
Yeah.
for me, even though she may not know it. The governor works for me, even though he may not know
We all
it.
pay
I
taxes.
live this life as if they work for me
That's
and
the
that I
thing,
have the
it's
privilege of them serving me, and they should feel like it's a privilege to serve me as well, even with all this brown skin. So, you've been watching the Asheville View, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.